Welcome back to Conversations That Awaken by Joe Bandra. If you've been with us since episode 1, thank you for taking this journey with us. Over the first 10 episodes, we've questioned many of the assumptions most of us inherited without ever examining them. We've explored the nature of reality, the illusion of separation, the origins of belief, the question of God, the self-organizing universe, the fact of being, the limits of language, and the stories we tell ourselves about who we are. You may have noticed that we've returned to some of the same ideas more than once. That wasn't by accident. Some truths cannot be understood by hearing them only once. They must be approached from different angles, examined through different lenses, and reflected upon until they become your own direct insight. Repetition is not about convincing you, it is about inviting you to observe more deeply. Our purpose has never been to give you another belief system. It has always been to encourage you to examine, question, investigate, and ultimately understand for yourself. Because borrowed knowledge is information. Direct experience, on the other hand, is transformation. If you're joining us for the first time, we encourage you to begin with episode 1. Each conversation builds upon the previous one, forming a journey from questioning the world to questioning the one who believes they are separate from it. So wherever you are in the world, thank you for listening. Take a moment to become fully present. Set aside, just for a little while, everything you think you know. And together, let's question everything. I am Kim. I hope you had the opportunity to read or listen to Finding Neve by Joe Bandra. The name Neve, heaven spelled backward, symbolizes a journey of self-discovery, an inward return to the source of true happiness. It is an invitation to look beyond the stories we tell ourselves, rediscover our authentic nature, and awaken to the peace and wholeness that have always been within us.
So what if the person you just fell like completely head over heels in love with doesn't actually exist?
Oh, yeah, that's...
Like, what if your brain just completely hijacked your nervous system and projected all your deepest, most unresolved childhood traumas onto a total stranger?
Onto just some guy at a coffee shop.
Yeah, exactly. And then your brain just slaps the label soulmate on them.
It's a terrifying thought, honestly.
It really is. But it might also be the key to finally understanding why our relationships so often just, completely veer off the tracks.
Yeah, it forces a total reevaluation of everything we think we know about human connection because we've been handed this very specific script since childhood.
The fairy tale script.
Right, exactly, about how love is supposed to work. And when reality doesn't match that script, we automatically assume we're doing something wrong.
We blame ourselves.
We do. But the truth is the script itself is fundamentally flawed.
Which is exactly our mission for this deep dive today. So if you are listening to this right now and you have ever felt confused by a breakup or maybe trapped in like a repetitive argument with a partner.
Or just utterly bewildered by the sheer force of a new crush.
Yeah, you are in the right place because we are unpacking the profound and just very tangled world of human connection through the lens of a truly fascinating text today.
It really is. It's called Conversations That Awaken.
Right, and it's a synthesis of 50 years of personal experience and insight by Joe Bandra, specifically exploring sex, romance, love, and marriage.
50 years of looking at this stuff.
Yeah, and our goal is to really deconstruct those rigid definitions we've been handed, figure out what is actually happening mechanically when we quote-unquote fall in love.
Mechanics are so important here.
They are, and we want to explore how to move from that ego-driven attachment to a genuinely awakened state of connection.
But to get there, we really have to start by tearing down the great relationship myth.
Oh, yes.
The one, it's society hands you this linear fixed timeline.
Like an assembly line.
Exactly like an assembly line. Two people meet, they fall in love, romance blossoms, they have sex, they get married, and they live happily ever after.
The ultimate fairy tale sequence.
It's presented as the singular, unbreakable chain of events.
It's so neat and tidy, and it almost never happens that way in the real world.
No, because human experience is incredibly messy.
Yeah.
Bandra dismantles this linear progression by pointing out what is blatantly obvious if we just look around us.
Right, like just look at your friends.
Yeah, sometimes intense sexual chemistry happens long before any emotional love develops.
Oh, absolutely.
And sometimes profound love exists between two people with absolutely zero sexual component.
Like deep, deep platonic soulmates.
Right, and you can have an earth-shattering romantic relationship that permanently transforms who you are, but it never comes anywhere near a marriage certificate.
Never even close.
And conversely, millions of people marry without ever experiencing fiery romantic love.
Really? They just skip the romance?
Yeah, perhaps they marry for deep companionship or shared values or just practical life building.
Which is so valid, but we don't talk about it.
We don't.
So if we want to actually understand our own lives, Bandra argues we have to decouple these four concepts.
Decouple them
We
totally.
have to stop treating them like a package deal. So, like, sex is primarily a biological embodied drive.
Biology.
Romance is heavily emotional and imaginative.
Yeah.
It's like the poetry of the relationship.
Poetry, I like that.
And love is a profound, steady state of connection and recognition of another person.
Right.
And marriage, well, that is a highly specific personal, social, cultural, and legal commitment to build a shared infrastructure.
Yeah, they absolutely can and do overlap, but one does not automatically generate the other.
Right. They are dominoes.
No, you can deeply desire someone physically without caring about their inner world.
Yeah.
You can love someone's soul without wanting to build a financial and legal infrastructure with them.
Which is what marriage actually is at the end of the day.
It is. And when you recognize that these are distinct channels of the human experience, you stop forcing your relationship to be everything all at once.
You step out of the fairy tale and into reality.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm with you on decoupling those concepts.
Okay.
But I'm gonna play devil's advocate here for a second.
Do it.
If these things are so separate, what is mechanically happening when you lock eyes with someone across a room and experience that undeniable love at first sight?
Ah, the classic movie moment.
Right, because when that hits you, it doesn't feel like you're separating biology from imagination. It
Yeah.
feels like destiny.
It feels like magic.
It feels like the universe just tapped you on the shoulder.
Well, something very real and very powerful is happening in that moment, but we have to be incredibly precise about what the body is actually responding to.
Okay, walk me through it.
So within fractions of a second of seeing someone, your sensory organs are pulling in massive amounts of data.
Just scanning them.
Scanning their facial symmetry, the pitch of their voice, their posture, their scent, everything.
Like a supercomputer.
Exactly. Your nervous system is rapidly interpreting all of those signals. But the kicker is that your brain is instantaneously comparing this new raw data against a vast internal database.
Oh, wow. So it's not even about them, really.
Right. It is cross-referencing this stranger against your unconscious preferences, your earliest childhood memories of caregivers, and these deeply ingrained biological drives.
So the feeling of destiny is actually just rapid data processing.
Basically, yes.
That is wild.
Your heart rate spikes, time seems to dilate, and the single person suddenly comes into hyperfocus while the rest of the room just blurs away.
I've totally felt it's wild.
But Bandra points out this is not mature love.
No, it can't be.
Because you don't know anything about them.
Right.
You don't know their fears, their character, how they handle a delayed flight, how they manage their money.
Or if they leave their socks on the floor.
Exactly what you are experiencing is an opening.
An opening.
Yes, something in their specific combination of traits has opened a door within your own psyche. You are encountering this physical person, yes, but you are primarily encountering your own imagination and your own history reflecting back at you.
We project an entire narrative onto them before they've even finished saying hello.
Yes, we do.
It's like we're reading the first page of a novel and hallucinating the rest of the book.
Hallucinating is a great word for it, and that projection does an enormous amount of heavy lifting in early attraction.
It does all the work.
It's the spark, but to understand how we separate the actual living, breathing person from the imaginary ghost we've projected onto them, we need to dive into the core frameworks Bandra uses to analyze connection.
So his 6 lenses.
Right. He looks at relationships through different viewpoints, and the most tangible one to start with, especially regarding that love at first sight feeling, is the biological and scientific perspective.
Let's get into the mechanics of that biological pull then, because when you are in the grips of early infatuation, it feels like temporary insanity.
It is temporary insanity.
You literally cannot focus on anything else.
It feels like insanity because your brain chemistry has fundamentally shifted. When that attraction hits, you are flooded with a very specific chemical cocktail.
Okay, what's in the cocktail?
First, you have a massive surge of dopamine.
The pleasure chemical.
Well, it's often called that, but it's actually more accurately the anticipation and motivation chemical.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's the exact same neurochemical pathway triggered by a slot machine.
Oh, wow.
It creates a feedback loop of craving.
So it's not just, oh, I feel good. It's, I need more.
Exactly. That is the mechanism driving you to compulsively check your phone every 30 seconds to see if they texted back.
Oh my gosh, the phone checking, it's a literal addiction cycle.
It is. Then you add norepinephrine, which spikes your adrenaline,
Right.
giving you that jittery butterflies in the stomach feeling, and it heightens your focused attention solely on the beloved.
You can't eat, you can't sleep.
Right. And finally, as you interact, your brain releases oxytocin and vasopressin, which are the bonding agents that create a deep sense of attachment and trust.
So we're just chemically hijacked.
Completely. But Bandra makes a really crucial pivot here. He says that while chemistry is incredibly powerful, chemistry is not destiny.
Okay.
Biology answers the base question. Do I want to consume or merge with this person?
Right, the animal question.
Yes. But biology has absolutely no mechanism to create honesty, emotional compatibility, or enduring care.
So it just gets you in the door.
Think about it this way. Biology evolved to get two people together long enough to reproduce.
It doesn't care about your 40-year plan.
Right. It did not evolve to help you negotiate household chores or support each other through a midlife career change.
Wow, yeah.
Explaining the neurochemistry of attraction doesn't fully explain the depth of human devotion, just like explaining the physics of sound waves doesn't explain why hearing a specific cello suite makes you burst into tears.
That's a great analogy. Biology is participating in the love, but love cannot be reduced down to biology.
Exactly.
Which brings up a really uncomfortable dilemma, I think. If biology just gets us in the door, why are we drawn to such specific and sometimes really chaotic doors?
Nice.
Like if chemistry isn't destiny, what is driving that obsessive magnetic pull we sometimes feel toward people who are actively bad for us?
Yeah, the toxic magnetism.
Right. This is where Bandra shifts into the psychological perspective, and man, it is a tough pill to swallow.
It requires looking at the inner child's radar.
Radar, yeah.
We like to think we choose our partners with a rational, neutral mind. We list out traits like, oh, they need to be kind, funny, stable career.
Checklist.
Right, the checklist. But underneath that logical checklist, we are carrying our early childhood environments, our learned attachment patterns, our unmet needs, and our deepest fears into every single interaction.
So our subconscious is essentially running the show.
Yes.
Scanning the room for someone who fits a very specific emotional mold.
And here is the truly vital mechanism to understand. We do not inherently seek what is healthy. We seek what is familiar.
Wait, say that again?
We seek what is familiar, not what is healthy. Yeah, if you grew up in a chaotic home where affection had to be earned through extreme effort, a stable, emotionally available partner might actually feel boring or suspicious to your nervous system.
Because there's no friction.
Exactly, there's no friction. So your brain says this isn't love.
Because the baseline for love was established as anxiety and struggle.
You nailed it. So when that person meets someone who is emotionally distant or inconsistent, their nervous system lights up.
The alarm bells ring, but they think it's wedding bells.
Yes, the anxiety spikes, the dopamine slot machine kicks in, and they mistake that intense emotional turbulence for irresistible chemistry.
Oh my gosh, Bandra's crucial concept here is that sometimes what feels like earth-shattering destined chemistry is actually just two unresolved wounds recognizing each other across a crowded room.
Two unresolved wounds recognizing each other.
That completely reframes every toxic relationship I've ever heard of.
Doesn't it?
We think we're finding a soulmate, but we're actually just casting a co-star to reenact our childhood trauma.
We project salvation onto this new partner. We look at them and our subconscious says, you are the one who is finally going to heal my loneliness. You are going to prove that I am worthy.
We pile all of our unmet historical needs onto their shoulders.
All of them.
And what happens when they inevitably fail to meet that impossible godlike standard?
Because they will.
Because they're just a flawed human being who, leaves their socks on the floor and gets cranky when they're hungry.
Massive disappointment sets in. We become furious. We accuse them of changing. We say, you aren't the person I fell in love with.
I've heard that exact phrase so many times.
Right. But in most cases, they haven't changed a bit. They are exactly who they always were.
Wow.
What happened is that your perception finally collided with reality. The fantasy scaffolding collapsed, and the actual breathing human being became visible.
That collision between fantasy and reality, that is where the philosophy of relationships comes into play. Because once the fantasy breaks, we're forced to ask a really brutal philosophical question.
It is brutal.
Do I actually love you, or do I just love the emotional experience you create inside of me?
Right. Do I love you, or do I love the mental image of you that I constructed?
It is the ultimate test of maturity in a relationship.
It really is. We interact with everyone in two parallel ways. There is the actual living complex constantly evolving person in front of us.
Yeah.
And then there is the mental avatar we have built of them in our minds, heavily constructed from our own expectations, our judgments, and our needs.
It makes me think of treating a partner like a cast member in a play that you're directing.
Okay, yeah.
Like you hire them for the role of my husband or the person who solves my anxiety, and you hand them a script. And as long as they hit their marks and say their lines, you reward them with affection.
Yeah, that's good.
But the second they go off script, the second they show a vulnerability you didn't approve of, or they change their career goals, you yell cut and get angry at them for ruining the scene.
That analogy hits the nail on the head because it exposes the mechanism of control. When we assign someone a role in our play, we are reducing a vast, complex human being to a utility.
A prop, basically.
A prop,
Yeah.
yes. Philosophy teaches us that love only genuinely matures when we stop doing that. The living person is always infinitely greater than the label you stick on their forehead.
So to truly love someone, you have to tolerate the fact that they are a mystery.
Yes.
You have to allow them to surprise you. You have to accept that they might hold opinions you don't understand or grow in directions you didn't anticipate.
You have to let them exist entirely outside of your script.
That's terrifying for the ego, though.
It is. Romance always begins with the image. The image is what we fall for, but lasting love is what happens when we are courageous enough to let the image burn away and we decide to meet the real person standing in the ashes.
Oh, I love that, meeting the person in the ashes. Okay, let's pull back for a second and synthesize this. We've looked at the biology of attraction, the psychology of our childhood wounds, and the philosophy of how we project images onto each other.
Right? The first three lenses.
Yeah, and all of this paints a picture of a very localized individual experience.
Yeah.
It's all happening inside our own isolated brains.
It's very contained.
But Bandra argues that if we stop there, we are missing the most profound layer of connection. He zooms out entirely, moving into metaphysics and mysticism to ask, what if we aren't as separate as we think we are?
The metaphysical perspective requires a total paradigm shift. Because normally we operate under the assumption that you and I are two completely independent, separate entities floating in a void.
Just bouncing off each other.
Right. We happen to bump into each other and then we create a relationship.
Yeah.
Metaphysics reverses that order.
Yeah.
It posits that relationship is the fundamental reality and the independent self is the illusion.
Okay, I'm going to need you to ground that for me.
Yeah.
Because as I sit here looking at a microphone, I feel like a highly independent, bounded physical entity.
You feel bounded, yes. But physically and historically, you are entirely porous.
Porous how?
You are the direct biological continuation of thousands of ancestors. You are constructed from the food grown in the soil, the water circulating through the ecosystem, and the air you are breathing right now.
Okay, I see that.
Even your thoughts are shaped by a language you did not invent within a culture you inherited. There is no absolute dividing line where the universe ends and you begin.
So relationship isn't something we do, it's something we are.
Yes, Bandra uses a textual metaphor here that is quite striking. He says that two people meeting and falling in love is like two waves meeting on the surface of the ocean.
Okay, the wave metaphor is beautiful, but I sometimes struggle with it because it feels a little abstract.
Abstract? How?
It can sound like a spiritual cliche. Like, how does it actually apply to two people meeting in a coffee shop?
Think about the physics of the wave. The two waves have different shapes, different momentums, different localized histories.
Oh.
One might be a slow swell, one might be a sharp crest.
Okay.
They clash into each other and create a unique splash that is the romance.
The splash is the romance.
Yeah. Yes, but neither wave is ever for a single microsecond separate from the ocean itself. Metaphysically, romance is just the underlying unified reality creating a highly focused, localized experience of attraction through two finite minds.
Wait, I have to push back on this.
Go ahead.
If we are all just localized expressions of the exact same underlying water, doesn't that make my specific partner entirely replaceable?
Oh.
Doesn't viewing us as just ocean water strip away the romance of finding someone deeply special and unique to me?
That is the most common fear when people first encounter this mystical lens. The ego is terrified of losing its specialness.
I mean, yeah, I want to be special to my partner.
Of course, but the mystical perspective doesn't erase the uniqueness of your partner's wave. It just reveals the depth of the water beneath it.
Wow.
And more importantly, it removes an utterly crushing burden from your relationship.
What burden?
The burden of extraction. Think about what happens when two people share a moment of profound, quiet intimacy. The defensive walls drop. You aren't worrying about your inbox. You aren't ruminating on a past argument. The ego's constant chatter stops. You are just completely, deeply present with them. People often describe this feeling as returning home.
It's the best feeling in the world.
It is.
But the question is, did my partner bring me home? Or did they just help me realize I was already there?
That is the crux of the entire mystical framework. The illusion is believing that the beloved inserted love into you.
Oh, wow.
We walk around believing we are empty vessels, and when we meet the right person, they pour love into us.
Like we're running on empty until they show up.
Exactly. But mysticism suggests they didn't hand you anything you didn't already possess. Their specific frequency, their presence, simply opened a door to a profound state of love and peace that was already your fundamental nature.
So they were the key, but you were always the house.
Yes, you were always the house.
Okay, the mechanical implication of that is massive. Because if I believe my partner is the sole manufacturer and supplier of my love and happiness, I am trapped.
You are completely trapped.
I'm completely dependent on them. And if I'm dependent on them, I have to control them. I have to monitor their moods. I have to panic if they want space, because if they leave, they pack up all my happiness in a suitcase and take it with them.
You've nailed the mechanism. When someone is your sole source of wholeness, their independence is a lethal threat to your emotional survival.
It's terrifying.
But when you recognize that love is your own inherent nature, you can finally cherish your partner without holding them hostage. You can appreciate the beautiful, unique way they unlock your heart without making them responsible for your psychological survival.
You can love them freely rather than anxiously managing them.
Exactly.
That is an incredibly liberating way to view connection.
It takes the pressure off.
It does,
Yeah,
but we're going to bring us violently back down to earth here.
All right, let's ground it.
It is very easy to vibe with infinite consciousness and wave metaphors when the candles are lit, you've had a glass of wine, and you're staring into your partner's eyes.
The honeymoon phase.
Right. But how does pure awareness and ocean water pay the mortgage? How does this survive the harsh fluorescent lighting of a Tuesday morning when the toddler is screaming the basement is flooding and you haven't slept in 3 days?
And that is exactly why Bandra doesn't stop at mysticism. He grounds all of this in the sixth lens, everyday living.
Okay, good.
Because if a philosophy cannot survive a flooding basement, it is useless. This is where all these grand concepts are tested in the absolute fires of mundane reality.
Because love becomes real when people are exhausted.
Yes.
It becomes real during financial stress or when one partner gets severely ill and needs caretaking.
Everyday living is about infrastructure. We talked earlier about decoupling romance, love, and marriage. Well, the everyday living lens dictates what each of those actually requires to survive the grind of time.
So what do they require?
Well, romance requires intentional playfulness, curiosity, and novelty to survive the mundane. You have to actively stoke that fire. But marriage?
Yeah, what about marriage?
Marriage requires household participation. It requires financial alignment, logistical flexibility, and above all, the mechanical ability to de-escalate and repair conflict.
That distinction is so vital. Love might be the spark that inspires a marriage, but love alone will absolutely not sustain a marriage.
Never.
Friendship, grit, and character sustain a marriage.
Yes.
Passion looks at a partner and asks, "Do I desire you?" But a marriage looks at a partner and asks, "Can we actually execute a functional life together when everything goes wrong?"
Those are two entirely different skill sets.
They really are.
They are. And this grounded lens also gives us rules for those other permutations of relationships we discussed. For example, sex without romance.
The casual hookup.
Right. Bandra notes that it is entirely possible, but everyday living demands that it requires continuous, rigorous honesty. It is not enough to just establish consent on day one and assume you're good forever.
Right, because biology doesn't care about your casual arrangement.
Biology does not care at all.
Your body is still pumping out oxytocin and vasopressin. Attachments can form entirely by accident.
Exactly.
You have to constantly check in to ensure the reality still matches the agreement.
Precisely. The same goes for romance without marriage. It is a completely valid path. Two people can share deep intimacy without ever merging their finances or signing a legal document.
Yeah, not everyone wants the paperwork.
But choosing not to marry is not a get-out-of-jail-free card for emotional accountability. You still owe each other truth and care.
Right.
And then there is the reality of marriage without fiery romance.
Which society tells us is a tragic failure. Like if the spark is gone, it's over.
But everyday living tells us it can be highly successful. Some marriages begin as practical partnerships. In others, the intense romantic passion naturally cools over a decade.
As it often does.
But that doesn't mean the relationship is dead or empty. Deep loyalty, profound companionship, and shared purpose can grow over time and create a deeply fulfilling life structure.
It all comes down to how we operate within whatever structure we choose. And that brings us to one of the most dangerous traps Bandra identifies in the day-to-day grind of relationships. He calls it the ego's hidden contract.
Well, the contract.
When I read this part, I immediately thought of it as a toxic accounting firm operating inside your relationship.
That is a phenomenal way to visualize it. A toxic accounting firm.
With little ledgers.
The ego, by its very nature, approaches love from a baseline of deficiency. The ego says, I am fundamentally incomplete. I lack something and you possess it.
Oh, okay.
So the ego draws up a hidden, unspoken contract with the partner. The terms are basically, I will make you feel special and important on the strict condition that you make me feel whole and safe.
It is a hostage negotiation disguised as romance.
It is entirely transactional. And fear is baked into the foundation, because if I am relying on you to make me feel whole, I have to constantly monitor your behavior.
Right, you're hypervigilant.
And this kicks off a devastating psychological downward spiral in relationships.
Let's break down the mechanics of that spiral, because it is so universally recognizable.
Right.
It always starts innocently enough, right, with affection.
Right. You show them affection, but because of the hidden contract, that affection subtly morphs into expectation.
Oh, I see.
You expect them to respond in a very specific way to validate you. Over time, that expectation hardens into an obligation. They must respond this way, or you will feel abandoned.
And what happens when someone feels obligated to love you? Their autonomy is gone. Love feels like a chore, and they pull away.
And that breeds massive resentment on both sides. The affection is gone, replaced entirely by obligation and resentment.
And that is exactly when the toxic accounting firm opens its ledger. We start keeping secret invoices in our heads.
Oh, the invoices.
We say to ourselves, I gave up my weekend to visit your terrible parents, so you owe me a pass on my bad mood today.
Right.
Or I forgave you for that mistake last year, so you have to agree with my financial decision right now.
We weaponize our own sacrifices. Sacrifice, which can be a beautiful, selfless choice, is suddenly mutated into a debt to be collected at a later date. It becomes emotional leverage.
But love cannot survive double-entry bookkeeping. You cannot keep a secret invoice. Because when that emotional ledger gets brought out during a kitchen sink fight, it is brutal.
It's a bloodbath.
You aren't just fighting about the dishes, you're fighting about a perceived debt from 3 years ago. We have all been in that exact fight.
We have. And this is where Bandra provides a genuinely powerful tool for breaking that cycle of endless conflict. To understand the tool, we first have to understand what he calls the composite ghost.
I love this concept. Walk us through it. Let's use a mundane example. Say you text your partner and they don't reply for 4 hours. When they finally walk in the door, you absolutely explode. It is World War III over a delayed text message.
Right.
What is mechanically happening in the brain there?
What is happening is that you are not actually responding to the delayed text message. During interpersonal conflict, we are almost never responding only to the present moment.
Okay.
That unreturned text. It bypassed your logical brain and struck a nerve attached to a childhood fear of abandonment.
Oh, wow.
A slightly critical comment about your cooking. It awakens the deep shame you felt when a parent criticized you 20 years ago.
It's all connected.
In that moment of conflict, you literally stop seeing the partner standing in front of you. You start arguing with a composite ghost.
It's like a Frankenstein's monster.
Exactly.
It's stitched together from the emotional DNA of your critical mother, your unreliable father, your cheating ex, and every Billy you ever faced.
Yep.
And you project that terrifying ghost right onto your very confused partner in the kitchen.
You are fighting your entire history, not the person in front of you. And because they are confused and defensive, they usually react poorly, which just confirms to your nervous system that the ghost is real.
Right. It just validates the fear.
It is a vicious cycle. The antidote to the cycle is what Bandra calls the holy instant.
Okay, I have a bone to pick with the name The Holy Instant.
Why is that?
Because it sounds a bit passive.
Walk me through the actual mechanics of it.
Yeah.
If my partner does something genuinely thoughtless, taking a quote-unquote spiritual pause, feels like I'm just swallowing my valid anger and letting them off the hook.
Yeah.
How is this not just spiritual bypassing? That is a crucial distinction.
Huh.
The holy instant is not about ignoring bad behavior. It does not erase past harm, and it does not mean you tolerate repeated disrespect.
Okay. Yeah.
The holy instant is simply a mechanical pause in your nervous system. It is a moment of profound internal clarity where before you react, you stop and ask yourself, what is actually happening right now in this exact second?
Yeah.
Am I seeing the living, flawed person in front of me, or am I seeing my history?
Whose face is really on this ghost?
Right.
So it's a circuit breaker.
Yes. It stops implicit memory from automatically hijacking your real-time perception. It breaks the knee-jerk trauma response. In that pause, you stop demanding that your partner pay the debts of your past.
You wipe the ledger.
Exactly. You allow both yourself and your partner to exist as you are today, independent of old wounds.
Which opens the door to what Bandra contrasts as special love versus awakened love.
This contrast is the heart of his philosophy. Special love is the ego's version of love. It is highly conditional. It demands possession. Special love looks at a partner and says, "You are special because you provide what I lack. Therefore, your job is to maintain this image, never change, and never ever disappoint me."
It is incredibly rigid. It's terrified of the future.
Awakened love, conversely, is rooted in presence. It inherently permits growth, change, and even failure.
Wow.
Awakened love looks at a partner and says, "You are a unique, sovereign individual. I cherish you, but I will not make you responsible for my psychological wholeness."
That is beautiful.
And when disappointment inevitably comes because we are human, we will meet it honestly in the present moment, not through the lens of the past.
I want to clarify something vital here, though.
Sure.
Awakened love doesn't just mean boundless, infinite tolerance, does it?
Absolutely not. Awakened love is about truth, not blind endurance.
Yeah.
Sometimes honoring the truth of a situation means recognizing that a dynamic is fundamentally broken or abusive.
Yeah, you don't just stay and be awakened to the abuse.
No, awakened love doesn't mean staying in a toxic environment. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for them is to create permanent distance. Ending a relationship, honestly, is far more awakened than clinging to a destructive dynamic out of fear.
Because the truth is the most important thing.
Right, forgiveness is an internal release. It does not mandate a reunion.
So if we pull all of these threads together, the biology, the inner child,
Mm-hmm.
the philosophical projections, the mystical interconnectedness, the daily grind, and the ego's ledger,
We've covered a lot.
we arrive at the central question Bandra poses. When we say we are falling in love, who exactly is doing the falling?
If we peel back the layers we've just discussed, the physical body feels the chemical attraction. The psychological mind creates the narrative based on childhood wounds. The ego attaches and drafts the hidden emotional contract.
All of that is happening at once.
Yes, but beneath the body, beneath the trauma narrative, and beneath the ego's ledger is pure, unobstructed awareness.
The observer, the part of us that simply watches the whole messy play unfold.
Yes, awareness is the open, quiet field where all these intense experiences, the rapid heartbeat, the fear of abandonment, the joy of connection arise and fade away.
And they just pass through.
And that core awareness does not need another human being to complete its existence. It was whole before the beloved walked into the room, and it remains whole if the beloved eventually leaves. The personal, localized self gets to experience the beautiful, chaotic reality of human relationships, but the underlying awareness simply illuminates it all without demanding anything in return.
So what does all this mean for you, the person listening to this right now? It means it is time to audit your own relationships, whether they are romantic, familial, or platonic.
You have to do the work.
You have to ask yourself the hard questions. Are you keeping a secret emotional ledger? Are you operating a toxic accounting firm waiting to cash in your sacrifices during the next argument?
It's a tough question to answer, honestly.
It is. Are you demanding that another human being carry the impossible burden of your own incompleteness? Because what Bandra's 50 years of experience tells us is that true awakened love only begins the exact moment we put that burden down.
The exact moment.
It begins when we stop demanding that our partner complete us and start simply honestly witnessing them as they are.
And if you can do that, it leads to a truly profound reframing of your entire romantic history. Bandra makes a staggering observation toward the end of his work.
This part really stuck with me.
He notes that some marriages last for 40 years but contain almost zero truth or growth, while other relationships last only 6 intense months but awaken us so profoundly that we are never the same again.
Yeah.
As he beautifully puts it, duration is not the only measure of depth.
Duration is not the only measure of depth. We are so conditioned to view any relationship that ends as a failure.
But if we accept the premise we've explored today that love is simply what becomes visible when the illusion of our separation burns away, how does that alter the way you view every single failed relationship in your past?
It changes the entire paradigm.
If a devastating breakup wasn't actually a failure, but rather a completed evolutionary purpose,
Wow.
if that short, chaotic relationship successfully burned down your ego and awakened a new, more honest part of you, who in your past do you need to stop viewing as a tragic ex and start viewing as a profound, necessary teacher?
That is an incredible thought to leave you with today. If we finally let go of that rigid factory assembly line, we started this whole conversation with the myth that every relationship must end in a lifelong marriage to be considered a success. We might actually possess the tools to retroactively heal our own past heartbreaks.
It's very possible.
Maybe the wheels didn't fall off the car. Maybe it was just a completely different kind of journey designed exactly as it needed to be.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might benefit from the conversation. Your support helps us continue exploring the deepest questions of life, consciousness, and reality. I am Julia Carter, and it is my honor to introduce Jo Bandra, author, philosopher, speaker, healthcare technology pioneer, and lifelong explorer of life's questions. Through his writing, Jo bridges science, philosophy, psychology, spirituality, and direct experience in a search for truth. His first book, Finding Nevaeh, is a transformative journey of self-discovery and the search for lasting happiness. His second book, Body, Mind, and Machine, chronicles his remarkable career and the evolution of healthcare technology. His next book, The Nature of Reality, explores consciousness, existence, and the mysteries at the heart of human experience. Jo's work invites us to look beyond what we think we know and awaken to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the universe we inhabit.
Life often feels like an endless list of tasks, constant noise and distractions, pulling us in every direction. We're all searching for happiness, but what if we've been looking in the wrong places all along?
This was Nevaeh's journey. Lost in the noise, she felt cut off from the peace and happiness she longed for, until she met Jo Bandra, an unconventional, insightful philosopher with a different perspective. Jay, as he is simply known, didn't hand her a map. He gave her something far more valuable, a compass, a way to turn inward, navigate her own thoughts, and uncover the clarity hidden beneath the chaos.
Readers around the world have been touched and inspired by Finding Nevaeh.
Your journey to inner peace begins now. Get your copy of Finding Nevaeh, available on Amazon and at findingnevaeh.org, or listen to the audiobook on Audible, Spotify, Apple, and other platforms.